Studio Ghibli was created with a very specific intention. From the beginning, the studio aimed to make animated films that did not rush the viewer. Silence, pauses, and ordinary moments were not treated as empty space, but as an essential part of the experience. Rather than explaining everything, Ghibli films often allow scenes to simply exist, trusting the viewer to observe quietly and form their own understanding. The name Ghibli itself reflects this philosophy. It comes from an Italian word used to describe a hot desert wind. Hayao Miyazaki chose the name because he wanted the studio to bring a new kind of air into Japanese animation. Not something loud or forceful, but a subtle change in direction, almost like a breeze passing through a familiar place. Despite its simple and minimalist visual style, My Neighbors the Yamadas ended up costing more to produce than Princess Mononoke. The film's unusual aesthetic required new digital techniques that were still experimental at the time. What looks light and effortless on screen was, in reality, the result of careful and costly technical work behind the scenes. In Laputa, Castle in the Sky, the destruction spell Balus is often said to come from a word meaning peace. This interpretation has never been officially confirmed, but it has quietly remained part of how many viewers understand the moment. The idea that a word associated with destruction could also suggest peace fits naturally within Ghibli's recurring theme of balance. Hayao Miyazaki has mentioned in interviews that the idea for Laputa can be traced back to stories he imagined as a child. Rather than being a fully formed concept, it lived in his mind for years as fragments, images, and feelings. Over time, those early imaginings slowly transformed into a complete world. When Grave of the Fireflies was released, the film was not entirely finished. Some scenes still lacked completed visuals, resulting in moments that appear minimal or almost blank. Instead of delaying the release, the film was shown as it was, giving certain scenes an unexpectedly quiet and unfinished feeling. My Neighbor Totoro was originally released as a double feature alongside Grave of the Fireflies. The pairing was unusual, combining two very different emotional tones. At the time, this release strategy led to financial losses, even though Totoro would later become one of the most recognizable characters in Japanese animation. Several of the locations shown in My Neighbor Totoro, such as Matsugo and Ushinuma, are based on real place names in Tokorozawa, in Saitama Prefecture. These were areas familiar to Miyazaki, and their quiet rural atmosphere influenced the gentle pacing and grounded feeling of the film's setting. The original promotional text for Totoro once suggested that these strange creatures no longer existed in Japan. Hayao Miyazaki strongly disagreed with this idea. He insisted on changing the wording to imply that Totoro might still exist somewhere, quietly, just out of sight. At one point, Miyazaki was reluctant to work on a project proposed by producer Toshio Suzuki. Instead of forcing the idea, he allowed his resistance to guide him creatively. That process eventually led to what became The Secret World of Arrietty, a film shaped by hesitation as much as inspiration. Many Studio Ghibli films are created without a fully completed script. Miyazaki often begins with only a general direction and allows the story to evolve during production. Scenes are added, changed, or removed as the film slowly discovers what it wants to be. The Tale of the Princess Kaguya is often said to have taken 8 years to make. In reality, the active production period was closer to 8 months. The longer timeline reflects years of preparation, reflection, and artistic decision-making, rather than continuous animation work. The unusually high budget for The Tale of the Princess Kaguya was approved because a television executive deeply admired director Isao Takahata. He reportedly expressed a desire to see Takahata's final work, even if it resulted in a financial loss, treating the project as a personal gift. The story of Yanagawa's canals stands apart in Ghibli's history as the studio's only live-action film. Focused on real waterways and environmental preservation, it reflects Ghibli's values without using animation at all. Ocean Waves is the only Studio Ghibli film that was originally produced exclusively for television. Unlike the studio's theatrical releases, it was created with a smaller budget and a quieter, more restrained tone. It was also the first film produced after Studio Ghibli moved to a new studio location. This transitional period influenced both the atmosphere of the film and the team working on it. At the time Kiki's Delivery Service was adapted into a film, the original novel consisted of only a single volume. There was very little source material available beyond the initial story. Additional volumes of Kiki's Delivery Service were written only after the film had already been released. In this way, the movie helped shape the future of the story rather than simply adapting it. Because of this, the film version of Kiki's Delivery Service differs significantly from the original novel. These changes led to creative disagreements during production, as the story gradually became something new. The manga version of Whisper of the Heart was discontinued after only 4 chapters due to low popularity. It was not considered a major success at the time. When the author later learned that her work would be adapted into a Studio Ghibli film, she reportedly believed it was a joke. The idea seemed too unexpected to be real. The director of Whisper of the Heart, Yoshifumi Kondo, passed away at a young age. As a result, the film remains his only feature-length work, giving it a quiet sense of finality. Joe Hisaishi, whose music is closely associated with Studio Ghibli, was originally selected by Isao Takahata rather than Hayao Miyazaki. This early decision shaped the sound of the studio for decades. A vocal piece heard during the Omu scene in Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was sung by Joe Hisaishi's daughter. The choice adds a subtle personal connection to one of the film's most memorable moments. The American release of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was heavily edited and shortened. These changes significantly altered the film's tone and narrative, distancing it from the original version. During production, Princess Mononoke was initially planned to be titled The Legend of Ashitaka. This working title reflects the film's original narrative focus. Despite the final title, Ashitaka remains the central character of Princess Mononoke. The story follows his journey more closely than that of any other character. Spirited Away was not based on a single original novel. Instead, it drew inspiration from several existing stories, blending ideas into something entirely new. The film went on to become the first animated work to win the Golden Bear at the Berlin International Film Festival, a rare achievement for animation. Across many Studio Ghibli films, clear villains are intentionally avoided. Instead, conflicts are presented as complex situations shaped by perspective, environment, and quiet emotional change rather than simple good and evil.